All right, everybody, thank you for joining us for our last cooking demo for this year. Liz is gonna make some yummy, yummy okra, and then we're gonna talk about some other stuff. So I will let her take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the live participants, and we'll be recording this so people that watch it after the fact. So this month we're featuring okra, which is either a favorite vegetable or a vegetable people don't like, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. But before I start, can we have some introductions? So I'm Liz Juneau, the nutrition educator for the Food Pharmacy program, and who do we have on the Zoom call today? And you can unmute yourself and speak.
Margie, hi.
Hey Margie, good to see you today. Welcome.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Yes.
I love me some okra.
Good to hear.
Dion,
Is Pamela with you today, Dion?
oh, she's coming.
She's coming, okay.
And
Hey
both
Dion,
of
hey
us
Pamela.
And both of us love okra.
What's that?
Both of us love okra.
Both of you love okra. Okay, we got some okra lovers on the call today.
Hey Liz, it's Virginia, and I'm a huge okra fan. I actually have a bunch down in the fridge, so I'm like, I need to remember how to do it. I want a different way of fixing it for today, so I'm
Okay.
excited.
So welcome, Virginia. So thank you all for joining us today. And I've already heated my burner up to kind of medium-high heat. So I'm letting it heat a little bit, but while it does that, I'll tell you, we're making today we're doing a more traditional okra recipe, and it is pan-fried okra. So we have it in your beautiful cookbook here. So I'm going to go over what the ingredients are and then the preparation, and then we'll get started. So it's going to take it says about 20 minutes that includes prep and cooking time. It serves about 4 people. And so we've got 2 cups of okra, and I've already sliced it. So one of the things that people that have said they don't like okra, when I ask, well, what don't you like about it? They say the texture, the sliminess. And okra can get slimy, but there's a couple of techniques that will help prevent that. And one of the techniques is when you wash the okra to make sure that you dry it very, very well. But because what will happen is if it's wet, once you cut it, the wetness will increase what's going to actually increase the sliminess of it. So dry it well. One of the ways that I dry it is just taking a kitchen towel and making sure you dry it real well with that. You can also use like paper towels if you wanted to do that. The other technique is actually at the end of cooking, you can either add some vinegar or lemon juice, something acidic, and that can help cut down on the sliminess. But if you dry it real well, it should not be slimy. So for many people, it's not just the taste of it, it's more of the texture of it. In this recipe, we're going to need the 2 cups of the okra sliced. We're going to also have about 3/4 of a teaspoon of vegetable oil, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper, cooking spray, and that's optional. I have a nonstick pan today, so I'm not going to use the cooking spray. If you don't have a nonstick pan, you may want to do that. And what's going to happen is I've already got the okra cut, as I said. I'm going to add the salt. Doesn't take a lot of salt. And then I'm going to put some fresh pepper, just a little bit of that. I'm going to toss that. And then I'm going to put the vegetable oil in the skillet. And this calls for just plain vegetable oil. I actually used a canola oil. You could use any kind of vegetable oil. You could also use like an olive oil if you wanted to do that as well. So we're going to just kind of let that heat up a little bit. And we're going to add the okra. We're going to saute it. We're going to let it cook. And it says about 10 minutes. The okra that I have was pretty small. So it's probably really tender, so it may not take that much time. Remember, the larger the okra pods, typically the tougher they're going to be. So when you're looking for okra, you want to look for ones that are free of blemishes. They're mostly green, and the smaller the better. I did cut the tops and the bottoms off of these before I sliced them. The other recipe that we had this month that we had at the farm truck stops was the roasted okra, which was kind of a new recipe for many people. They had not had roasted before. And all I did with those was cut off the tops and roasted them actually whole. And I had a lot of good feedback. People really liked that recipe. So it is in the recipe book. So this has come up to temperature. So I'm just going to add the okra. It's starting to sizzle. And I'm just going to let it saute here and stir it occasionally. So it says cook until it's brown, and that takes, like I said, about 10 minutes, and then we will serve it up. So while this cooks, I want to talk about a couple of things. Every month in your cookbook and also in the newsletter that we have been giving out to participants when they come to the farm truck stop is about mindful eating. And so we have a little information on mindful eating and then a mindful eating practice. So I wanted to talk about one of those today. And there's some questions I've been asking people, and these are questions you can ask yourself as well. And one of the questions is like, when do I feel like eating? So that's a question that has to do with maybe hunger. Like, when do I get hungry? When do I want to eat? So the question I have for you, and you can unmute yourself, you can also put it in the chat box, is what does hunger feel like to you? So anybody that wants to answer that, what does hunger feel like to you? And while I wait, I'm going to just stir this up a bit.
Well, I'll share.
Okay, Margie.
That's a very deep subject. That's not an easily answered question. Yes, I could say maybe a feeling in my stomach like it's empty. But also I've learned, for me, it's when my energy is low.
Okay.
Then I stop and think, what did I eat last? Because some foods give me good energy and some foods don't. Or if I haven't eaten something that gives me good energy and my energy's low, then I realize, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Often I think, though, that outward circumstances and thought patterns, sometimes I can think I'm hungry, but all I'm really doing is filling up a hole or a need that's not being filled some other way.
Yeah. You bring up really two good points, Margie. One of them, the first thing you brought up, is that hunger is a physical feeling. And two of the symptoms of hunger, or like you said, low energy, or a feeling of emptiness in the stomach, those are definitely physical. But sometimes we do mistake hunger for other things. And we may be hungry for other things, but it may not be food. And so distinguishing between the two. And so the second question, you kind of lead into the second question, and I'll ask it, and then if anybody else wants to respond to either one of these, is what are some things you might mistake for hunger? So what does hunger feel like to you? And then what are some things you might mistake for hunger?
Being tired.
Being thirsty.
Being lonely.
Being lonely. Yeah. Those are one of those things when I said, what am I hungry for? You may ask yourself, what am I hungry? But then what am I hungry for? If it's not food, it could be some other things like having connection to people and recognizing that loneliness may be the trigger for wanting to eat. Absolutely. Yeah. And I heard thirst, and I heard feeling tired. Sometimes feeling tired, that low energy like Margie spoke of, could be a symptom of hunger, but it's not always. It could just be tired because you're tired, not because you need food. We can actually feel tired after we eat. So that definitely tells us that may not be that we're hungry, we're just tired. Anybody else? What are some other things we may mistake for hunger?
Boredom.
What was that? I didn't hear it.
Being bored.
Being bored,
To
that's a
get
good
some
one.
munchies when I'm bored.
Yep, that's a huge one. So again, hunger is a physical feeling. And so it also may be a rumbling in the stomach. That's another symptom of hunger, maybe a little bit of lightheaded, depending on how hungry you are, maybe a little bit of shakiness. So the next question I have is, how do you feel about asking yourself if you're hungry before eating? Does anybody actually ask themselves if they're hungry? Margie mentioned that she does. She kind of reflects back on what did she eat? When was the last time she ate? Maybe what did she eat? What's her energy level? So does anybody else check in with themselves, and how receptive are you to doing that? Dion, are you still with us? Do you have any
I'm still
comments
with
on
y'all.
that? You have any comments on that? You or Pamela?
What's the question again?
How do you feel like asking yourself if you're hungry before eating? Do you ask yourself if you're hungry before eating, and then how receptive are you? How willing are you to do that?
No.
Do you ever ask yourself, like, am I hungry? Do you ever question that, your hunger level?
No.
No. Okay. Are you willing to do that? Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So I have a actually tool that may help you do that. And so there's something called a hunger fullness scale. And I have an example of one here. We're also going to put a link to another one that may help you with that. And you can actually use this before you eat. You can use it while you're eating, and then you can use it after you eat. It's also called a hunger satisfaction scale. That's the other way it's termed. So you can Google this, you'll come across, there's lots of different versions of this, but they're all very similar. And what it does is, it's a guide to help you assess your hunger levels, how hungry you are, like I said, either before, during, or after you eat, and then your fullness level. And remember that the goal of eating is to feel better after you eat. And so it's usually from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. And so on the 0-1 side is what we typically call hangry. Has anybody heard of that term before? Ashley's raising her hand. She knows what that is. So Ashley, how do you feel when you're hangry?
Grumpy, irritable, sassy, I think is the term my husband would use.
Okay. So other symptoms would be headache, nausea, irritable. Remember that being hungry, it can affect your mood, like she said. So being too hungry, lightheaded, shaky, can't focus. Hunger could be things just like that stomach growling, the hunger, what we call hunger pangs. They're not hunger pains. A lot of people think it's pain. It's not, it's pangs, P-A-N-G-S. And then around the 3 to 4 range is an empty stomach, maybe your thoughts drift to food. And then 5 is kind of neutral. You're not really growling, you're not really hungry, but then when you start eating, thinking about how does food feel in the stomach. And then on the other side, the 6, 7, and 8 are the more the fullness or the satisfaction. Can you feel stomach? Can you feel food in your stomach? Do you have a sense of well-being? Your maybe stomach is comfortably full, and then you get to be where it's uncomfortably full, or your stomach is stretched, or you're painfully full, or actually you feel sick to your stomach. So anybody want to comment how typically do they feel like they overeat sometimes? Do they eat to satisfaction sometimes? Kind of tell me your experience with that.
I ate 4 ice cream sandwiches.
Wait,
Four ice cream sandwiches. That was terrible.
You
I ate 4
4
ice cream sandwiches in a row.
Okay, and how did you feel
I
after
didn't need that.
What's that?
I was in pain.
You were
I
in
was in
pain.
pain.
Yeah. So if we had to use that scale from 1 to 10, 10 being painfully full, where were you, Margie?
10.5.
You were off the scale. Yeah. And how would you have preferred to feel?
One would have been enough and just satisfied with that nice taste in my mouth.
Just satisfied. Well, actually, one would be on the other end being really, really, really hungry, but around 6 to 7 is that comfortably full. Yeah, yeah. So definitely check out this hunger fullness scale because I think it can really help you with that and kind of assessing. Yeah, because what it can help you with is choosing not only what to eat, it can also help you choose how much to eat as well. So we've been talking about kind of different questions to ask is, am I hungry? And then how full do I want to be is the next question. And that helps with guiding. Hunger does start off sometimes subtle and then it does increase with time. When we're first hungry, we may not have to eat right away. We can wait. Waiting is not a problematic unless we wait too long. And you can start actually recognizing whether you're hungry before you eat. You know, it doesn't have to start right when you sit down to eat. And if you wait too long to eat, you may be overly hungry. And then, like I said, you can decide how full you want to be when you finish. And then that hunger fullness scale, using it before you actually sit down to eat, during, and then afterwards. The other thing that I wanted to point out is sometimes people that have been in food scarcity, either from a history of it or currently, have maybe will be more triggered to overeat because food was not available. So when you do have food, it's the idea that you may want to eat more at the time. So just keep that in mind that may be a trigger. Any other questions, comments about this hunger fullness scale or hunger or satisfaction or fullness?
Yeah, I'll make some comments.
Okay.
Duh. Anyway, I am really intrigued. I've learned a lot of stuff, but I've never heard of this hunger fullness scale. So I am definitely going to look into that. I do believe and have learned that sometimes the speed in which I eat, how fast and how slow I eat, will determine my fullness factor. That because it takes a period of time from the time the food hits your stomach till it triggers that mechanism that tells you I'm full. So if I eat really fast, I can eat a whole lot before that mechanism kicks in. But if I eat slower and pay attention, then, and sometimes that mechanism, I've broken it a few times and I have to get it back because I can just eat and eat and eat and not even pay attention to that mechanism that tells me I'm full and have my mind on something else and not even pay attention to that.
Right, right. And that's an excellent point. So that's one of those questions when we ask, which was on one of our newsletters, how do I eat? How do I eat? Am I focused on eating? Am I distracted? Am I eating sitting down or am I standing up? Yeah, all those things. How you eat definitely can affect your fullness level and either stopping when you're satisfied or overeating. So excellent point. Any other questions, comments?
You know, I could talk all day, right? I practiced a lot of restraint.
What's that?
I practiced some restraint.
Restraint. We appreciate the comments.
I like to add about drinking while you're eating. That often if I drink a good glass of water, a little bit before I eat, that prevents me often from eating too much when I do eat. If I get fluids and, drink some water first. Because if not, I don't know, not drink water till I'm full up, but, kind of get the system lubricated first.
Yeah. So, Margie, I'm glad you said that because I do want to point out something. So when I've been talking about mindful and I also talk about what's called intuitive eating, which means paying attention to your own body, kind of what we're talking with the hunger fullness scale, nobody can do that for you except for yourself. It has to be an internal mechanism. That mindful eating is not about rules. So many people have heard rules like don't drink anything while you're eating, or drink something when you're eating, or drink something before you eat, or all these things. And that really is individualized. So you get to decide what you want to do. If that's something that's helpful to you, go for it. You find that it's really helpful to drink that glass of water, other people may not. Other people like, no, when I sit down to eat, I don't want to have that fullness of water because maybe I don't eat enough when I eat because I'm too full of water. So you see how mindful eating is all about tuning inward and not relying on outward. So it's finding out what works for you. But I'm glad you found what works for you. Deanna, Pamela, Virginia, any other questions, comments?
No, we just listening.
This isn't, okay. So the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is in relationship to our brochure that we've been giving out at the farm truck stops. But if you haven't got one, we have all of this information online on the website. But it talks about moving forward and how to stay connected with the farmers market. So, you know, this program will be ending this month. We will have our participant appreciation in September, but what we want is for people to continue to practice what they've learned in the program. So some of the things or ways to continue is to keep cooking, keep exploring, either explore mindful eating or trying new recipes or new ways of, you know, selecting foods. Keep doing those things. Keep using your recipe book. There's the journal prompts. If you haven't completed those, you can complete them at any time. We also have the farm truck stops. We have the farmers market. You can continue to go on Saturday, or you can find the list of the farm truck stops online. Remember that your SNAP benefits are doubled at the farmers market and on the farm truck. So we really want you to stay connected, to continue to just learn and keep going forward with what you've already gathered from the participation in the 912 food pharmacy program. Any questions about that?
I don't want to say it wrong. Dion and Pamela, I hope I see y'all at the September event.
Yeah,
know.
September event.
the end of the year event.
Yeah, I've been seeing you on the cooking class. I hope to see you at the event.
I hope to see all of you guys at the event.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that the vouchers expired at the end of the year. I'm gonna get in there and use the rest of mine. I'm trying to make them space them out, you know. I don't know if y'all are aware of the fact, but I believe that the government has halted the extra money on the food stamp card this month. That's just really sad.
So they're no longer doing the pandemic benefit, but they
Yeah.
are officially increasing the amount that you'll be receiving permanently. So it won't be quite as much as the pandemic, but it will be more than what you were getting before, because they recalculated the, you know, average food cost. Finally, they finally updated that since like 1975 or something. So you will have your numbers moving forward will probably be a little bit different, but it should be more than what you were getting before, which is good.
I didn't know
And the
that.
market and the truck will always do that doubling program. So that's a nice way to stretch it after your vouchers are gone. But your vouchers are valid until the end of the calendar year. So you can use them through December as you need them, both on the truck and at the market. So still come and see us in those places. And the truck will be at the participant appreciation event that is in September too. So if you have any vouchers and you want to do some shopping, then that is done. You can absolutely bring some with you there. And if you come, you'll get a few market tokens as our way of saying thank you for coming too. So you'll get a few freebie tokens there. So.
Yep. Got a few in there.
Yeah, and make sure you tell all your friends that are in the program and stuff. We want as many people as possible to come to that event. We're gonna experiment with making different types of salsa. So you'll get to kind of make your own flavor to take home with you, which will be, I think, fun. And a nice thing that then you can do moving forward on your own too, once you've learned how to do it.
Liz, are you gonna be there?
I am. Yes, I am. Yes. And hopefully, like you said, many people have, like you've seen Pamela and Dion, maybe y'all can actually meet up, and we hope that it is going to be interactive. That's one of the reasons we want to do it, because we haven't been able to do the cooking classes. We've been using this and also the samples at the farm truck stops, but it's going to be really nice to have everybody together and be able to do the cooking and having everybody participate. So I'm really looking forward to that. Absolutely. So I did not pull out a plate. I was looking for one in the cabinet, but I couldn't find one. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what it looks like. So I've sauteed it. It's dry heat is the other thing. That's why it won't get slimy, but I've got some kind of charred, I browned it, which I kind of like that. And Ashley's handing me a plate here, so I'm going to plate it up. And then the other option, like I said, if you want to put a little vinegar, you could do that just for flavoring too, not just to cut back on the sliminess. I definitely don't, it's definitely not slimy. And when I plate it up, I will show it to you again. Not slimy at all, but you could use like hot vinegar just as an additional flavoring. But you can also use hot sauce. And I have something called pick a pepper sauce, and it's a spicy mango. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on there. And you could serve this as a side to something else, to some kind of meat. You could have it just plain if you just like to eat okra plain. A lot of people have been telling me that they like to put shrimp in okra or sausage. That was the two kind of foods that I heard a lot, or the proteins that I heard a lot of people like to mix with okra, and that would be great with this as well. It's beautiful. It's got the nice green, but it's got kind of some of the browning. And then if you put a little bit of the hot sauce like I did, you got a little bit of red accent. So it's just it's a pretty vegetable as well. So try this recipe. Try the techniques that I gave you to cut back on the sliminess. If you haven't tried okra before, this is an opportunity to do that. Or try the roasted okra that's also in your recipe book. And I look forward to seeing you at the participation event in September. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you for participating. Thank you, Margie. Good to see you again.
I made this dish not too long ago.
Oh, you did?
Yay!
Oh, wow. And you took a picture of it.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
How was it?
It was delicious. You remember?
Delicious.
I don't remember.
What?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Pamela, it must have been good if you don't remember. If it wouldn't have been good, you probably would.
Yeah, because I probably ate, but I don't remember.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, I'll see you next month. Bye.